Thank you for joining us as we continue our look at the SIMA Web Seminar Series. Let's now turn to Mr. Ken Ossian as he discusses the different environments to view when deciding on a product in the 2010 Web Seminar Advanced Liquid Application.
When we use the word environment, you want to take it a step farther and say, please define the issues. One of the easiest way to do this is we look back, and we're going to look at this very large hospital complex. And we just start looking at the various parts of this hospital that requires de-icing. On top, you'll notice there's a helicopter pad. What do we use to de-ice a helicopter pad on top of a building? We're going to have issues with corrosion. We're going to have issues with the runoff, how we're going to impact the airplane. We're not going to be using salt brine on that. We're not going to be using any types of chloride ice melters. We're going to be using that very expensive ice melter we had talked about originally, potassium acetate. We move a little bit from that helicopter pad onto the top of the parking ramp. We've got some issues there as well because we have an awful lot of rebar on the top of that parking ramp. And there we continue to use the acetate-based ice melters, and we do not use any chloride-based products. You'll notice in the back there's a parking lot there, which is a lot of SIMA contractors are working on. That particular parking lot, you want to know where the runoff is going. If the runoff is just simply moving to the side or the outer edges of the parking lot, you'll find that that's going to be a salt product, and it could be based with a pre-wetted material. It could be anti-ice very effectively. Same thing with the roads in and out. But let's just say that that particular parking lot has a couple of quick drains to it in the middle, and those quick drains are channeled to the lake in front, which happen to have fish. We have changed the whole dynamics of the environment by those drains. So you want to look very closely at where the runoff is going on that. If we swing around, we have some flowers and vegetation that's just outside of the entranceway. There, we're not going to use the acetates. We're not going to use the salt-based products because they're going to have a very negative impact on that vegetation. So we'll want to be using a much safer product. So again, you just simply need to step back, look at the entire physical environment when making the decisions of what to use. If we go to the human environment, how many people are doing the application, how much training they've had, how much supervision is available, how does that apply to the chemistry issues? Let's use this as an example to bring this home. If we've got we're doing anti-icing, we're back to the calcium chloride versus our what we call the idiot-proof product, the 80-10-10 mix, which is the salt brine, the sugar beet, and a small amount of calcium. If we have a large crew that doesn't have very close supervision, most of us that have experiences with large crews know that they'll probably overapply the product, and therefore they will not be guided. So if we're using something like the calcium or magnesium, we may be putting it down at the wrong time, and we may actually create a hazardous environment because of the hygroscopic nature of those two chemicals. So you want to look again at the number of people, how much training they had, and then select your product that you're using to match up with that. The weather environment, the time of day, the application, the traffic patterns, people, we can just go on and on about the various issues about the weather, but the key one here to understand, because you're trying to make the decision, do I anti-ice or do I not anti-ice? And one of the key issues about anti-icing has to do with where the temperature is headed. Is the temperature going down or is it going up? 15 degrees is what we call as our anti-ice point. If it gets below 15, we don't want to use anti-icing. If we get above it, we're fine. But we want to, quote, understand that it's not where the temperature is at the moment as much as where the temperature is headed. We could actually be at 15 degrees, but we've got temperatures that are dropping quite rapidly, and at that point we probably would not want to do the anti-icing. You also have to understand that we are dealing with the surface temperature, not the air temperature. And for anyone that's been in this business for a long time does understand ground temperature is not the same as air temperature. Now we're down to what most people consider the environmental issues, is the vegetation issues. One of the best ways to deal with vegetation is to use liquids at every opportunity. The main advantage of the liquids for being more environmentally friendly is very simple. You use less material. When you use less material, you're having less impact on the vegetation. You also have to be very concerned about some issues that you almost need to use what we call a vegetation positive product. And even with a vegetation positive product, you have to understand that you can make so many applications as to render even a vegetation positive product can be harmful by having a fertilizer burn. Water runoff issues, if you've got a lake nearby, you've got to be fairly careful because chlorides will build up in the water runoff. You have fish issues. If you're going to use a bio-based product, which is going to be recommended in those particular cases, you have to understand that with the bio-based products, you're going to have some aeration of the water, allowing those products to biodegrade so they don't starve the oxygen out of the water, which will therefore affect the fish that are in the environment.
If you would like to purchase the CD-ROM of this or any other past CIMA web seminar, please visit the CIMA website at www.cima.org. This program is copyright 2010 by the Snow and Ice Management Association, with all rights reserved.